I'm calling this meeting of the Silver City Town Council to order. Would you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item of business is changes to the agenda. Does any of the council members wish to make changes to the agenda? No changes, so we'll move on to the next item, which is council comments. Councilor Amon Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As well as being a town councilor, I volunteer in a number of organizations, and one of the organizations I volunteer for is Main Street, and I want to send a thank you and a shout out today to Priscilla Arendano for our community development department. She's a planner, and she helped a citizen who wants to beautify a facade of a building to fill out all of the permits and forms, and she was extremely helpful. So I just wanted to say thank you to our community development department.
Thank you. Councilor Bedison.
Thank you, Mayor. I was fortunate to be able to attend a portion of the Buddy Walk that was held last Saturday. Yeah. It was much larger than it was the year before, and I know it was a little cold out there, but I think every year it will grow. And the mayor was there along with Raul Turrieta, and I know the mayor probably has a few things to say about it. So
you go ahead.
Okay, it's a really wonderful event, and it's just so wonderful to have everyone who's there so positive, upbeat, and really really congratulating all of the young people with Down syndrome for everything that they do and all the things that they can do. So it's recognizing those people, and it's really important to me personally because I have a family member who had Down syndrome and passed away from it in a much he was much older than expected when he did, but he was a joy to all of us. And I would say the one thing about Down syndrome folks and children is that they are a joy to everyone that they meet. So I just want to say that if you can attend next year's Buddy Walk, please do, because it's just a fabulous event. And the more people that know more about Down syndrome and chromosomal damage, additional chromosomes, is something that I welcome, and I hope all of you do too. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor O'Connor.
Mayor.
Councilor Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. Real quick, Mr. Brown, may you be able to tell your street, Demasio and his crew, for doing a wonderful job on Cooper Street and throughout Silver City, as I have gotten numerous people to tell you guys that they're enjoying what they're doing, and they're quick to do it right away. And again, thank you. Also, for those that don't know, the Chamber of Commerce has a link on their website that you can choose Volunteer of the Year or Worker of the Year or something like that, and people that have done something for Grand County. And one more thing, I won't be here for the November 13th meeting, as I have a prior commitment. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Does the council have any other comments? I'd like to welcome Captain of Investigations, Ricky Villalobos of the Silver City Police Department, here with us tonight. I've known Ricky for a long time, and he's been with Silver City for 20 years, and I think 4 years with Gallup. And November 22nd will mark his 24th anniversary with the police departments. Welcome. I had the privilege of representing the town at the international meeting of universities hosted by President Joe Shepard and Western New Mexico University. The purpose of the conference was to develop cooperative educational programs with our Latin American neighbors. There was a very large contingency in attendance from Mexico and Costa Rica, representing 16 universities, and it was a very large contingency there. At the end of the conference, to acknowledge their hand of friendship between them and the town of Silver City, I was presented with a gift of appreciation. It's a handmade box, and there's various goodies in here. And I'd like to present it to the town manager, Alex Brown. And Mr. Brown, I don't know how you're going to do this fairly, but there's 4 things in here plus the handmade box. So if you could figure out how to distribute it, but, you know, teachers can go a long way, as well as honey. We've been trying to fill some committees, and tonight we will be looking at the P&Z committee. This was one I know the council had a lot of concern that we get filled, and at one point they were not able to make a quorum, I think, and so tonight we'll be appointing one, and that will leave. Will that be a full committee in?
Mayor, tonight is the recycling committee, and next meeting, the P&Z committee.
Okay.
Commission.
And there's going to be a few vacancies on the recycling advisory committee, and so I'd like to ask the council members to be looking around and see if you can find some community members that have an interest and ability to work in that committee. The next item on the agenda is approval of minutes of the October 10, 2017 regular meeting. Do I hear a motion? Councilman Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to approve the minutes of the regular town council meeting of the town of Silver City of October 10th, 2017.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor, I second the motion as stated.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of accepting the minutes of the October 10, 2017 regular meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is public input. I see that we have one person signed up, George Carr. Mr. Carr, when you come up, make sure you turn on the microphone. There's a little button there that you need to press.
Is it on? All right. Very briefly, I'm very concerned about the flyover and the impact that it will have on our community and on my property and the property values of everybody in Silver City. I moved here just over a year ago, and the big attraction to me was the fact that I had the wilderness areas in my backyard. I was also very attracted to the fact that this was a very quiet place. I lived in a big city, and I didn't want to live in a big city anymore. So I feel that the sense of the community is exactly the same as my opinion. All of my neighbors feel the same way. From everything I've read and understood about this, it's going to have a bad impact on areas outside of Silver City and on farms generally. For that reason, I have 2 requests. The first is, if there could be a letter, say like from the mayor or someone, saying that the sense of the council is that this is a very bad idea and could be sent to our political leaders, or to wherever it could go to have some kind of input. I think that that's a much more persuasive thing to the Air Force than any kind of personal public comment that I can make. My second request is this. I'm licensed to practice law in Florida, not in New Mexico, but I would like to know what kind of remedies are available to the city and the property owners in the event that I have some chaff or an unexploded flare drop into my yard. I also would like to know whether or not the property owners of Silver City could claim some kind of inverse condemnation for the decrease in property values that might emanate from this if it actually occurs. I'm not asking. The way I would go about this, if I were on the city council, would be to find out if I could find some eager young law student to research this issue and to find out what remedies are available. I would also suggest that if this is done, that the residents of Silver City be made aware of their legal rights in the event that they would like to pursue a remedy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is reports, and we have a lodger's tax update summary report to be given by Colleen Martin, Executive Director of the Silver City Arts and Cultural District.
Mr. Mayor, the council, it's a great pleasure to be here for my inaugural meeting. I would like to not only go through the lodger's tax report, but also spend a little bit of time talking about some of the things that, I'm sorry, I have a horrible frog in my throat, some of the things that we would like to try to do this year and into next year. So I hope that all of you have received the report and I've had a chance to review it. Some of the things that I'd like to talk about are updates to that report. One of which is, I'm not going to deal with the budget in detail, but you're welcome to ask questions. But one of the things I wanted to update you on was that we had submitted the proposal that we mentioned under number 1 under the plan section. We did submit the placemaking grant proposal, and we have been talking to a number of people, not only the county, but others interested in trying to develop a cohesive brand and a cohesive sort of look and feel to Silver City and Grant County marketing, and there's quite a bit of interest in that. So that is something that we hope we win, but even if we don't win it, there's a likelihood that we might want to try to pursue some of these collaborative efforts. Secondly, there's under item number 3, I didn't number them, but hopefully you can figure it out. It's the broadband services issue has been resolved. We are going to be shifting to Comcast and increasing our speeds by 40 times with a lower cost to the town. The overall cost to the ACD will be lower. With respect to changes to the budget and changes to our marketing plan going forward, we are looking at not participating in the expo, the travel show, and making some other changes to the marketing plan, which would give us more flexibility in terms of spending more money on digital online marketing, because we really think that we need to focus more there. We need to also increase our collateral, our marketing collateral that can be used on those media, more videos, and we're working with a company that's going to be helping us a lot with Instagram. In general, what I'd like to say is that I think I have the agreement of my board to go ahead with strategy review for our overall marketing plan, because I think that it's important that we not only know whether what we've been doing has had an impact, but also what we should be doing to reach the demographic that we really want to reach. So if there are any questions on that portion, otherwise I might go on to just discuss a couple of other things.
Any questions?
Go for it. Okay. Well, one of the things that I'd like to emphasize is our commitment to the collaboration within the city, within the town of Silver City. As you probably know, we have a fairly large coordinating council that includes Main Street, it includes the Mimbres Region Arts Council, Fort Bayard, the museum, the public library, the university, the COG, the Council of Governments, and the Volunteer Center are just a few. It's open, and we'd welcome anyone who wants to attend, because we think that that's one of the things that ACD can do to really help coordinate cultural and arts activities here and make sure that people are talking to each other and aware of what everyone is doing. So that's one of the things that I wanted to emphasize about our efforts going forward. We want to strengthen that approach. The other thing I wanted to mention is that we are probably remiss in not sending you a revised budget insofar as the previous director had prepared an initial proposal, a proposed budget to you, and I think that it's probably important for us to send you a revised budget. And I just wanted to point out that there have been a number of changes. Obviously, the distribution from the lodger's tax was significantly less, about $31,000 less than we had originally asked for. So we've made quite a number of changes to both our marketing plan for this year and to other aspects of the budget. And I can talk about that in more detail, or I can send it to you. I still need to figure out where I'm off 25 cents here and there, but I can certainly send that to you in the next day or so. So the other thing I wanted to update you on was the fact that we are moving forward pretty rapidly with the kiosk program. We now have the maps completed. They are going to be printed very soon. So we are moving forward with that, and we're very excited about that, and we think that that's going to be a real strong addition to the ACD area there at the Visitors Center. And finally, I wanted to just mention, as you see from all of the additional pages to this report, there's a lot of statistics there on visitors from out of town and a little bit about where they come from and why. And one of the things that you'll notice is that the numbers seem to be in the negative territory for July, August, and September. And basically, we attribute that primarily to the drop-off in international visitors. And I think that that's somewhat attributable, at least, to the drop-off in Mexican visitors from Mexico. So it's not entirely Mexico. It also is from Germany and a couple of other countries that we've traditionally gotten quite a bit of traffic from. So those are my main comments. We hope that we can work together very closely with the town council as we move forward with some ideas about this unified marketing strategy, and I'd welcome any comments or questions you might have.
Thank you. Does the town council have any questions? Councilman Smith?
Briefly, you mentioned the coordinating council, or the coordinating group that you work with, as being a prime way for folks to become engaged and hear what's going on and give feedback.
Right.
So could you please publicly say when that is and whom they should they just contact you if they want more information?
They can just show up. It's the third Thursday of every month. And I think that, is it the third Thursday? I better check. Is it the third Thursday? I'd like to just say anybody can just come to the meetings.
And where are they held?
They're held at the Visitor Center in the back conference room.
At what time?
9 o'clock, I believe. 9 to 11.
I think you're right. My memory serves me correctly.
Thank you.
So for anyone who is watching on the cable channel or is here or is the news report, that would be a really good way for people to be directly involved in the kind of work that you're doing. Yes. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Councilor Patterson?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say I appreciate the statistics.
Oh, good.
I really do. I know that one of the things that we do at the WM Museum is, in talking with Rebecca Martin and providing her with information, we're closed. I mean, we have a very small display open. And I know, when I went in to make the appointment, to see you next week, one of the things she said is, she goes, I've been very clear with folks that it's just a small display, but people are happy to hear that there is something. So, and I did tell her that there's other things going on, but I think that part of the statistics in explaining them could also be about if there's any of the different attractions are closed because the cliff dwelling closes, because, if there's any damage to the bridge, things like that, I think, would be a good way to make sure that when someone looks at it in the future, that they know that there might be an impact.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so that's just a suggestion, because it refers to anything in there, even if there's a decrease in restaurants or something, or an increase.
Good point.
Because it kind of lets you have a little bit more insight to
A little bit
the...
more background on why the numbers are as they are, yes.
Yeah, and especially with the individual attractions. But I do appreciate this, because it gives us more of a better picture of who's actually coming. And you can see the drop-off in German visitation and stuff. There's none that I can, as my colleague just said, there doesn't seem to be any, and whereas the last report we got that there was a substantial number.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to know what they're thinking about why. I mean, I could think of some things, but...
We can speculate all we want, but
Right.
we can't really ask them. So, I'm afraid we just have to speculate.
But thank you again for the statistics. Appreciate it.
Any other questions or comments?
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is new business. Item 11A.
Were there any staff reports?
Pardon?
Were there any staff reports?
I don't think so. No. The next item is, under new business, is 11A, the approval/disapproval of resolution number 2017-27, a resolution amending the approved and adopted budget for the fiscal year commencing July 1, 2017 through June 30, 2018, and for municipal purpose in the town of Silver City, New Mexico, transferring and appropriating funds thereof. Mr. Brown?
Mayor and Council, as I mentioned at the last council meeting, this resolution is required to do a budget adjustment because our street maintenance fund was in the negative at the end of the last quarter, and that was because we did the chip seal project, and we do big projects throughout the year, but the money comes in on a monthly basis, so we're going to be in the negative at some point. But the DFA will not accept a quarterly report with a negative balance in the grouped type funds. And so what we're going to do here is transfer $21,381 from the general fund to the street maintenance fund, and then turn around and transfer it right back as soon as we submit the report. It's dumb, but we got to do it.
Any questions? Do I hear a motion? Councilor Ray?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve of resolution number 2017-27, a resolution amending the approved and adopted budget for the fiscal year commencing July 1, 2017 through June 30th, 2018, and for municipal purpose in the town of Silver City, New Mexico, transferring and appropriating funds thereof.
Have a motion, is there a second? Councilor Khanna?
Mr. Mayor, I'll second that motion as stated.
Motion second, any discussion? Roll call, please, Ann.
Counselor Kano? Aye. Counselor Ray?
Aye.
Counselor Amon Smith? Aye. Counselor Medicine?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. The next item requiring action is 11B, the approval/disapproval of notice of intent, ordinance number 1264, an ordinance amending Chapter 48, Town Property, Article 2, Sale, Lease, or Exchange, Sections 48-22, 48-24, 48-26, and 48-27 of the Town of Silver City Municipal Code. Mr. Brown, would you go ahead and give us the details of this ordinance?
Madam Council, this basically is to update the section in the code book that pertains to the sale, lease, and exchange of town-owned property. The ordinance was put in place approximately 12 years ago. Since that time, we've experienced some issues with the lease. For instance, let me go through the changes, I guess, would be, and these are all based on issues that we've experienced over the years, and so we just wanted to fix it to make it more user-friendly, I would say. Number one is to increase the limit at which time we have to pass an ordinance to do a lease of town-owned property. Currently, it's at $5,000 a year. We would like to increase it to $15,000 a year, because that $5,000 a year is a really small lease to do a really cumbersome ordinance 2-month process. So we're looking at changing that to $15,000 a year. Second is to change it so that the town-owned trail and trailheads can be designated by me as essential properties so that they cannot ever be sold. Currently, we can only sell property, help me explain this one. It's where we have to do an RFP to sell property, and in the current ordinance, we can only sell it for appraised value. We're changing this to, go ahead, let Robert explain this one.
We have provisions, and this is to make sure that the town doesn't violate anti-donation by selling a piece of property too far below what it's worth. We have that obligation to get fair value. In a recent experience where there was competitive bidding, we were still stuck with what the realtor said was the value of the property and what the appraisal was for. So and neither really represented the actual market. So what we're saying now is that if there's fair competitive bidding and the highest qualified bidder, that dollar amount will be considered to be the fair market value. Now, that does not take away what we also is repeated language that appears other places in that ordinance, is that under any circumstances, the council, if it doesn't feel that even though this is the high bid and even though this bid represents the fair market value, the council always has the ability to reject all bids. So that we made that clear. The other changes, we used to have to do an ordinance for $5,000 and above. Now we moved it to $15,000. There was a referendum. The door to potential referendum was at $50,000. Now it's at $100,000 to reflect the increase of real property in general. This hasn't been updated in quite some time. So basically, it's housekeeping, and when this ordinance was originally passed, I think Mayor Marshall made it clear that we would look and see how it worked and then tweak it to make it work better. And this is a tweaking.
Anything else, Mr. Brown?
No, he said it a lot better than I could have, because I was confusing myself. This ordinance, since we put it in place, has been confusing. It's stricter than state law, but that was the intent. It's just, we want to make it work for Silver City.
It's really not stricter. It's, just for the record, it's really not stricter, but this was done under the powers that the town has under its territorial charter, in addition to state law.
Thank you. Any questions from the council? Councilor Baniston?
Mayor, it's actually a comment. I just want to thank both of you for, and the mayor for, section 48-26, where you add least into it, because at least was not part of it. And, you know, I think that is a good option if we're not really ready to sell something, but to lease something. And thank you both for doing that. I appreciate it.
Any other questions? Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilor Baniston?
Thank you. I move to approve of ordinance I move to approve notice of intent, ordinance number 1264, an ordinance amending chapter 48, town property, article 2, sale, lease, or exchange, sections 48-22, 48-24, 48-26, and 48-27 of the Town of Silver City Municipal Code.
A motion, is there a second?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Smith?
Mr. Mayor, I second the motion as stated.
Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. The next item under new business is 11C, request for council authorization to forward 2 letters regarding Holloman AFB's expansion of flyways. As you may know, the U.S. Air Force has proposed a plan to bring new models of the F-16 fighter jets from Holloman Air Force Base further into the airspace over the Gila National Forest. The plan would expand operations to the east and southeast, including airspace over the Gila and Aldo Leopold wilderness areas, and to within several miles north of Silver City. Holloman Air Force Base wants to have aircraft activity down to 500 feet above ground level, supersonic activity at or above 30,000 feet, and the use of defensive chaff and flares within certain parameters. I do realize that the Air Force, in order to maintain an effective air combat readiness, must be able to train their pilots. Our concern, however, is that the citizens of Silver City, Grand County, and southwest New Mexico have not had an opportunity to meet personally with representatives from the U.S. Air Force Base to give our input and voice their concerns. That opportunity was provided to citizens in TRC and Las Cruces, but not to us. Our other concern is the impact that these sorties may have upon Silver City and its economy and the national forest and the wilderness area. In these 2 letters, we are requesting that representatives of the U.S. Air Force meet with citizens in our area to receive their input and voice their concerns. Now, these 2 letters will be, if approved by the council, will be posted on the town's website, so you can read them in detail there. But I have received a strong request to just sort of read and paraphrasing parts of one of the letters, which I will do. This letter is addressed to the Colonel Cantwell, who is the commanding officer of Holloman Air Force Base, writing to express concern about the proposed plan to create a new flyover zone for F-16 training missions that would encompass all of the Gila National Forest and most of its wilderness areas. The proposed zone comes within several miles of the town of Silver City. This letter represents our personal concern about the positive, negative impact that these sorties may have on our community. First is that Silver City was not included in the cities where public meetings took place. Furthermore, we only just received notice of the proposed flyover plank, and for most of us, it was not until after the meetings had taken place in Truth or Consequences in Las Cruces. We are therefore requesting a public meeting in Silver City where we can discuss the many impacts that this activity could have on Silver City and its surrounding areas. Silver City is a community with a rich history and an economy that is strongly dependent upon tourism, with visitors to the Gila Cliff Dwellings and to other national sites, and upon the numerous people who utilize the Gila National Forest for hiking, camping, hunting, fishing, scientific studies, their livelihood, and other outdoor activities. Some people who visit actually end up moving back here to live permanently. They fall in love with the people, the peace, the tranquility, the solitude, and the generally quiet lifestyle we all enjoy here. Scientists at Western New Mexico University also carry out scientific studies in the Gila National Forest. This vast scientific laboratory is unique because it contains the Gila River, which begins high in the pristine mountains of the Gila National Forest and continue until it connects with the Colorado River. The Gila River is the last free-flowing river in New Mexico. Silver City is also officially recognized as a gateway to the Continental Divide Trail system. We go on to describe the Continental Divide Trail, which we don't need to do, but the Continental Divide Trail passes just several miles north of Silver City, and hikers from all over the country, indeed from all over the world, come here to start their Continental Divide Trail journey. As you may know, specifically designated wilderness areas are supposed to remain free of technology and motorized travel and support solitude and communing with the land and its wildlife. Two sections of the 1964 Wilderness Act states that an area of undeveloped federal land retaining its primeval characteristic and influence without permanent improvements or human habitation, which is protected and managed so as to preserve its natural condition, and for providing outstanding opportunities for solitude. We're also concerned with the possible negative impacts that these flyovers may have on important archaeological sites that are located in the National Forest. I'd like to just open it up to the council for any comments or statements that they would like to make. Councilman Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank you for taking the lead on writing these letters. I find it appalling that we were not included in feedback, and I would appreciate a public opportunity to speak with the Holloman folks themselves. I support training exercises, but I cannot personally support the kind of exercises that have been described from what I have read on the Holloman site about these flyovers, flying very low, dropping aluminum shape, dropping flares, and many of them potentially going through the forest. So I wanted to say thank you for taking the lead, and thank the staff for involvement, and I would support this 100%.
Thank you. Any other input, Councilor Ray?
Thank you, Mayor. I am against this also, and I'm glad that you are undertaking this letter here to propose to Holloman Air Force Base. Being a veteran, and there's a lot of veterans here in Grand County, it would have a big impact on veterans here. And I know that for a fact because loud noises, I've been hunting out there where they have passed very, very low, and for lack of a better word, you get mad. But thank you. Thank you.
Any other comments, or Councilor Bedison?
Mayor, I want to thank you as well, and I want to also thank staff for their involvement in doing this. I was shocked and appalled when I heard about it, and I just questioned the thoughtfulness of the folks at the Air Force Base for not really including us in a public hearing at the beginning and not notifying any of us about this, because it wasn't just us, it was also our own state senator and representatives. They didn't know it either. They had no idea about this, so it was almost as if Silver City was not in Grant County, and Southwest New Mexico wasn't really considered to be important enough to include on this. And as an archaeologist, I appreciate the fact that you've placed in the letter and in the second one as well, the information about the effect on archaeological and specifically Native American ruins, especially the cliff dwellings and other cliff dwellings that exist in the area. The sound vibrations from flyovers that are very, very low can damage them, and has damaged them in other parts of our state. And lastly, I just think it's really important for the public to know that not only do they go to the people that they're addressed to, these letters are also sent to Senator Tom Udall, Senator Martin Heinrich, and Congressman Steve Pierce. So that I really appreciate you taking the lead, and I'm appreciative of the fact that the letter that you read is being transmitted, hopefully with which it sounds like unanimous support of the town council. And I appreciate your initiative to do this, so thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Both Councilor Ray and I have served in the military, and I think all of us want a strong Air Force. But we need an opportunity to provide input, and we need to look at what possible impacts are in a common sense way. That's, I think, is what we all would like. Do I hear a motion? Councilor Bedison?
Mr. Mayor,
I move to approve the authorization to forward 2 letters regarding the Holloman Air Force Base expansion of flyways.
Is there a second?
go ahead.
Councilor Ray?
Thank you, Mayor. I second that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. The last item of business is under new business, is the appointment to the Recycling Advisory Committee. We have received one application from Gary Clausen for one vacancy on the committee at this time. David Kirsch, chair of the committee, has recommended Mr. Clausen's appointment. If there are no objections, I would like to appoint him to this committee.
No objection.
Okay, there being none, I do hereby appoint Mr. Gary Clausen to the Recycling Advisory Committee. This concludes the business of the town of Silver City. Councilor Amon Smith,
Mr. Mayor, I move to adjourn.
got a motion?
I'll
Is there a
second that.
Councilor Ray, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is adjourned.